Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options and Play video update. So, wrapping up the week with earnings on the radar, as we normally do. Before I forget, though, want to make sure to wish everybody a safe and a healthy long weekend, Memorial Day weekend. It's amazing that the summer is here. It doesn't feel like it. Obviously, it's been kind of an unusual few months, but if you're venturing out, stay safe, stay well. Um, Hopefully, things are getting more back to normal. When we do get back on Tuesday, actually, a pretty busy stretch. Just it's a short week, but actually a pretty busy one. Before the open on Tuesday, not so much though. You have Anaplan. So I don't know if you're familiar with kind of like a smaller cap software name. Pricing in about 8 points. Those are monthly options. It got hit real hard on the February report, sank all the way down to the mid 20s. Now it's come back. Has a pretty well-defined gap on the upside. It doesn't seem that the pricing is too cheap, but it does have like this really obvious gap. I mean, and it did move quite a bit last quarter. So, I mean, that could be one where if the numbers are good, maybe you get like a quick move to close the gap. But I don't really have like a whole ton of experience trading that stock. It's not one that I've stepped in on many times in the past. AutoZone. So about 68 to 70 is what they're pricing in. Um, this always seems to price in a huge move, and I feel like it never moves as much. I mean, it's like kind of $1,000 or $1,100 stock that just really isn't that big of a mover on earnings. But volume very low on the stock. Volume is very low on the options. They're crazy illiquid, so I'm going to be leaving that one alone. After the bell on Tuesday, Keysight, so like a 5G play. 11 points is what's priced in. Those are monthly options, though. Numbers have been really solid the last few quarters, but the stock has kind of plateaued up in like the 90s, 100 area. 5G companies this quarter have been pretty solid. So I think I'd be bullish biased, but I mean, like the whole trade on Keysight is basically going to revolve around whether or not it gets rewarded for the numbers and if it can break through the top of this resistance, because it's got a lot of like chop and congestion up here, and it really would have to get through like 110 to like clear the top of that. So it's really going to revolve around whether it's good enough and whether it can go far enough to really trigger like a breakout. For the open on Wednesday, Ralph Lauren, which is pricing in 6 points, or 6.5 points, excuse me. Now, this type of retail pattern has been really uneventful this quarter. We've seen like a bunch of retailers that have been stuck in like these lower ranges down here, and they just really have not moved much. So until I see that change, like I just don't think there's a reason to like lay out money. So I'm probably going to avoid it. What I've been saying though is like watching like these patterns for like a move higher. Maybe they trigger like a breakout. You can like look at them as like a swing idea, but not for earnings. At least not this week for Ralph Lauren. Goose not confirmed, so we'll circle back to that once they confirm. All right, after the close on Wednesdays, when the tech and earnings really pick up for the week. So Autodesk. About 16.5 points is what's priced in there. I'd say that this is probably one of my least favorite software reports next week. Um, it's just because the pricing seems high, and being based off what it typically moves, just I don't know if there's like a lot of room there. Had a really big rebound. Doesn't have like a great history of responding well to earnings too. So I think I'm just going to focus on like on other ones, other software names. Workday. So this one's interesting. About 15 points is what's priced in there, and I think it could be an interesting bullish idea because it's been lagging other like software peers, right? And you can see it's just starting to get up through the 200A. You can see that it's, I mean, well off its 2020 high, well off its 52-week high. And I feel like it could have a pretty big pent-up breakout and maybe like a catch-up move if the numbers are good. So that's what I'm thinking on Workday. Also, Box. So another software name. Oh, there we go. So about 275-ish is what they're looking for. Those are monthly options. I'd say it's just an under the radar, very strong, smaller software name. I mean, it had solid results last quarter, and it's right at the top of resistance, which you can see right here. Seems like a kind of like a solid bullish idea, especially if they can deliver. I mean, it could have like a pretty nice move through like this resistance range around 19. Nutanix. So 425 is what's priced in. Now, I would have said that this would have been a pretty good setup for an earnings trade, but they just gave preliminary guidance 2 weeks ago. So that kind of removes a lot of the uncertainty, right, and a lot of the potential volatility, in my opinion. Uh, it does have a clear gap above, but I'm just not really sure what to expect because, I mean, again, they just guided like a couple weeks ago. So either an avoid or maybe look at like a calendar strategy. That's what I'm thinking. NetApp. So about 3.5 points is what's priced in on this. Um, they have had some. There have been some really big moves on this over like the last. Well, over like the last year. It hasn't been super consistent, but there have been some real big moves. So big gap, another big gap. So it's not every single quarter, but there are occasions when it has a real substantial move. So, I mean, I feel like the pricing does leave a little bit of room either way, especially because when you look at it, it's been kind of like a tighter consolidation the last couple of months. So that one might be an interesting volatility strategy candidate. All right, before the open on Thursday, Burlington. So about say 17 to 18 points is what they're looking for. It has been a pretty big mover on earnings over the past year, but it did just have like a real big pop on TJX numbers this week, and that probably removed some of the upside surprise or upside potential. And when I factor in what the options are pricing versus what it just moved, I feel like it's it kind of puts me more on like the fence with that one. Dollar General is definitely one of, if not maybe one of, I mean, definitely one of the best retailers out there right now in terms of performance. They're priced in at about 11.75, and it seems like this, like Costco, Walmart, I mean, like that group has really been like they've really been the best brick and mortar names throughout the quarantine. But at the same time, I feel like expectations just seem very, very, very high for this. Walmart, right, for this week didn't have a very big move, but the Dollar General option pricing actually isn't too bad in my opinion. So, I mean, if I can get risk down, I might look at this because I feel like it could potentially see like 15, pricing in about 11.75. So, it's not cheap, but it also does seem like it could be a mover. Um, Dollar Tree. So this one's interesting. So about 7 points is what they're looking for, and it's been stuck in this lower range. It's really been lagging. Dollar General hasn't participated at all. It's actually down for the year, down from February. So I feel like if the numbers are decent and this can kind of get through like this lower resistance range, they're really a nice open level above, and it doesn't seem like the options are really priced to reflect that. So. Seems like a decent bullish idea. And then last on Thursday morning is Neo. So 60 cents is what they're looking for, and you know, I if this had been earlier in the week, I would have said could be pretty interesting setup. Now though, I mean, with all this talk about like delisting like these China tech ADRs or China tech companies, I mean, it's just taken such a toll on the stocks that I just really don't know what type of move Neo's going to have. The chart, I mean, it does look decent, but maybe what I'll do is just wait and see if it can like get through four and then possibly, view it as like a swing idea. Because if it gets through four, then it kind of opens up the possibility of seeing five. So I think that's probably more along the lines of what I'm going to do with it. And then after the close on Thursday, big night. So Costco, about 14 points. They give monthly sales updates, so I find that the actual earnings report can be less eventful, at least compared to other retailers. The chart looks okay, right? Been kind of consolidating around above 300. I guess the pricing seems elevated versus like what it normally moves like off an earnings report, and I just don't know where the surprise would come from. other than maybe like margins because they give those monthly sales numbers. So I guess I'm kind of up on the air on it. Um, Might be more of like a game time decision for me. Marvell. So this is arguably uh, one of, if not the strongest chip stocks out there right now. They're pricing in 2 points, and it's right at 52-week high, and you can literally count on one hand the number of chip stocks that are at their 52-week high. Broke through like this real big resistance range up here. You can see starting to move higher. The issue with Marvell is that it doesn't always act great on earnings, so I'm a little bit more cautious, especially because like Nvidia was around 52-week high, didn't really get rewarded. AMD around 52-week high, didn't really get rewarded. So I'm kind of more cautious to lay out the money on it, but maybe it's like a swing idea or even like a longer dated position after the numbers come out. Okta. So this has just been just powering higher, just nonstop. I mean, barely had like a down day in the last like month. They're pricing in 18 points, and I mean, I don't think I can do much with this. I mean, it's just the stock has gone too far, too quickly. Expectations seem too high. Option pricing seems very high. I just don't see a trade. I mean, maybe if anything, like a calendar spread, selling short-term premium, buying longer-term premium, but I just don't see a trade on it. Salesforce, on the other hand, this one actually looks kind of interesting to me. About 10 and a quarter is what's priced in there. It is typically a favorite trading name of mine. I mean, whether it's like earnings, like swing trades. Um, Now, it doesn't always act great on earnings. So like that's like the caveat here. But it has come back nicely. It's above all of its moving averages. It's still off its high, and the last few quarters have been pretty solid. So I mean, it does seem set up for upside, and I do like how there's like a real clear path to where it was in February. So if the option pricing comes down during the week, that might even get me more interested in it. But I still think that like time is important with this one because it doesn't always move like real fast. So something longer dated, maybe on like the bull side. Nordstrom. So this kind of like Ralph Lauren, you can see what I mean. Like these beaten up retailers just hanging out in these lower ranges. This one's pricing in 2 and a quarter. I mean, again, like these trades just really have not been working, so I think I'd rather just wait and see if it gets up to like 20 to 21, and maybe hop on for like a swing trade, especially this one because it's really heavily shorted too. Ulta actually is an interesting retailer report. So they're pricing in about 23 to 24. You can see that it's well off its low compared to some other names, but it is still obviously well off its high too. So I feel like I feel like we know the stores were closed, but they do have an online presence, and I think like there could be a path maybe to like the 200-day, which is about 30-ish points higher. So it does seem like if I can get debit down, maybe look at something speculative on like the bull side there. Viva, so another software name, obviously another one that's had a huge run. Priced it in 20 points. Those are monthlies though. And the thing with Viva is that I feel like it tends to price in a real big move and it falls well short of moving that much. So it's just not a great earning stock to trade. So I mean I do think it looks okay, but I don't think I'm gonna be involved with that one. VMW, so another software name. So about 11 and a half points is what's priced in, and I wish option pricing was a little bit lower on this because it's been a pretty consistent mover over the last few quarters, and like the tight like kind of month-long range here makes me think that it could be due for a move. But at like 11 and a half, I just don't know how much room there is. So maybe if I can get risk down or if option prices dip during the week, might look at like a volatility strategy on that one. And then last but not least, Zscaler. So about 10 points is what's priced in on this. It was crushed in February and has come all the way back and then some. But the problem with Zscaler is that it's had weaker responses to earnings, like basically 4 quarters in a row now. So it really hasn't responded well to earnings over the past year. Um, you know, that coupled with the fact that it's had a huge run right near its high, it seems to me like expectations are just too elevated on this. Pricing is just too high. So I'm kind of leaning towards leaving it alone. Maybe even something like speculative bearish. But I don't know. I'm like right now I'm more on the fence slash like thinking like leaving it alone. And then Friday before the open, nothing scheduled actually. So that's it. But you can see, like, I mean, it's only, I mean, really, in reality, it's only like 3 days. It's only Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday because there's nothing on Friday. So a lot packed in like a short stretch. So last week of May, short week, but a lot going on. So hoping for some good action, all right? So like I said before, hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Stay well, safe travels. If you like these videos and you're looking for more information on options trading, more earnings option trade ideas, please follow up with the link in the description of the video for more information on options to play. Um, have a great night, and I will talk to everybody on Tuesday. See ya.